Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone. As you may or may not be aware, our video editor is away on vacation this week, and as a result, we aren't able to release our usual timely news coverage. However, since we didn't want to leave you all with nothing, we decided to try something a little bit different instead. In this compilation, we're going to be looking back at some of the dumbest crimes and criminals that we covered in our Crimes of the Week series this year. Believe it or not, this is just the first half of the year. So if you enjoy this compilation, be sure to let us know in the comments below, and we'll do another video in December covering the second half. One thing to keep in mind as we get into the video is that these segments have not been edited since they appeared in their respective lists, so references to specific days of the week as well as other small details may no longer apply. We hope you enjoy this list, but if you're craving more crime news, don't worry, we'll be back to our usual schedule next week. A so-called prank robbery ended in decidedly few laughs this week when it culminated in the death of one of the would-be pranksters. According to reports, 20-year-old Timothy Wilkes was shot and killed on Friday night outside the Urban Air Trampoline and Adventure Park in Nashville when he and a friend approached a group of people brandishing butcher's knives. Wilkes and the friend planned to use the resulting footage as part of a video for YouTube. A member of the group who was not in on the joke, 23-year-old David Starnes Jr., proceeded to shoot and kill Wilkes, believing that he was acting in defense of himself and others. While the case is still under investigation, police say that no charges have been filed against Starnes. A Tennessee man is facing charges this week after a bizarre case of forgery and identity theft involving a handgun permit. According to reports, 51-year-old Robert Joseph Halleck was arrested after he allegedly applied for a Tennessee Enhanced Handgun Carry Permit in January, using the name President Barack H. Obama. Along with the forged signature of the former president, Halleck included a letter bearing the United States of America seal with the U.S. Department of State letterhead. Authorities say that Halleck initially tried to apply for the permit in November under his own name, but was denied because there was an active warrant for his arrest in the state of Michigan. Halleck is currently facing charges of perjury, forgery, and identity theft. This week, it was reported that a 19-year-old Arizona man recently pled guilty to filing a false police report in connection with a bizarre scheme he cooked up to get out of work. According to reports, 19-year-old Brandon Souls was discovered on the side of the road on February 10th in seemingly bad condition. He proceeded to tell police an elaborate and harrowing story of kidnapping. According to Souls, he had been hit on the head by masked men and stuffed into a car in front of his home. The men had been after a vast sum of money that his wealthy father had hidden somewhere in the desert, and they had kidnapped Souls in order to find it. However, when police checked the surveillance footage in front of Souls' home, they could find no evidence of the supposed kidnapping. He eventually confessed that he had fabricated the entire story to get out of going to work. Ironically, Souls had gone to fairly extreme lengths to fake his kidnapping, including beating himself up, tying his hands up with his own belt, and stuffing a bandana in his mouth. He had also composed several text message chains to back up his version of events. In addition to having to pay fines for wasting the resources of emergency services, Souls has reportedly been fired from his job. A former salon owner in New Mexico is facing a laundry list of charges this week after she was indicted on 24 felonies. 59-year-old Maria de Lourdes Ramos de Ruiz is the former owner of VIP Beauty Salon and Spa in Albuquerque, where authorities say she engaged in racketeering, money laundering, and tax evasion, among other illegal activities. The most disturbing of these activities arguably relate to Ruiz's charges for practicing medicine without a license. Her business was first brought to the attention of police after it was discovered that at least 2 clients contracted HIV from so-called vampire facials. The bizarre name refers to a cosmetic procedure involving platelet-rich plasma. A patient's blood is drawn, spun in a centrifuge, and then tiny amounts are injected under the skin using small needles. Blood is also applied topically to the skin. An inspection of the business in September of 2018 by the New Mexico Department of Health and 2 other agencies not only revealed that Ruiz had forged her credentials and licensing for her business, but that it had been operating in extremely disturbing conditions. Inspectors found unwrapped needles scattered around the salon, unlabeled blood tubes in the kitchen area, and unlabeled syringes and blood in the refrigerator. They also discovered that blood was simply being poured down the kitchen sink. At least 137 clients reportedly received the unlicensed and unsanitary treatment from Ruiz during the time she operated the business. Thankfully, the salon was immediately closed down following the inspection. It is unclear why it took so long for Ruiz to be charged in connection with her illegal activities, though perhaps this had to do with the sheer number of things she has now been accused of.
On Wednesday, an Indiana woman pleaded guilty to a charge of false kidnapping after she and 2 accomplices faked her kidnapping last summer. According to reports, 24-year-old Hannah Potts enlisted the help of 2 friends to make it appear as though she had been abducted, posting a video to Facebook in July of 2020 saying that a black man had kidnapped her. Potts was found by police in a basement belonging to the accomplices 2 days after the staged kidnapping. Potts later admitted to police that she had orchestrated the entire bizarre plot as research for a manuscript she was writing. She also said that she rehearsed for a week before recording the video that she posted to Facebook. At her sentencing this week, Potts was sentenced to 360 days in jail, but the sentence was suspended to probation. She was also ordered to complete 120 hours of community service. Her 2 accomplices, 45-year-old Joshua Thomas and 35-year-old Maria Hopper, previously pleaded guilty and also received probation.
This week, it was reported that a motorist in Alberta is facing thousands of dollars in fines after they were caught driving with a fake license plate that turned out to be printed on a piece of paper. The bizarre incident was announced in a Facebook post from Alberta RCMP, who say that last month, a traffic officer noticed a vehicle with a tinted license plate cover traveling on Queen Elizabeth Highway 2 near Leduc. When the driver was pulled over, the officer ran the vehicle's license plate, only to discover that it didn't exist. When questioned about the situation, the motorist not only admitted that the vehicle wasn't registered and that they were driving without insurance, but that the fake license plate was actually a piece of paper. The driver had printed the image on the paper, attached it to an I Heart My Car vanity plate, and hidden the whole thing behind the tinted cover. According to the RCMP, the initial fines issued to the driver totaled just over $2,000. However, they still have to appear in court for driving without insurance. If convicted, the minimum fine for that offense is $2,875. This week, it was reported that a woman from Minnesota was arrested after she allegedly showed up at the funeral of her ex-boyfriend where she was not welcome and drove recklessly through the cemetery, nearly hitting 2 people. Local police were alerted to the incident last Saturday after 28-year-old Blair Whitten arrived at the Riverside Cemetery where the funeral was being held. She had previously been asked by the deceased man's family not to attend the service after making harassing posts on social media about his death. A witness said that he had approached Whitten's SUV to ask her to leave, but when he got close, she slammed on the accelerator, forcing him to dodge the vehicle. Other witnesses reported seeing Whitten driving quickly and recklessly through the cemetery, running over grave sites and nearly hitting at least one other person. Whitten was arrested at the scene and charged with misdemeanor reckless endangerment. At her first court appearance on Monday, she pleaded not guilty. She claims that when people approached her vehicle, she feared for her safety, and so she attempted to flee. She also claims that she was careful not to hit anything. A South Carolina woman is lucky to be alive this week after she allegedly crashed a stolen vehicle full of gas she was hoarding, and the whole thing went up in flames. According to the Pickens County Sheriff's Office, the incident took place on Thursday night when a deputy tried to pull over a Pontiac G6 after learning that the car had been reported stolen. However, as the officer activated his siren and lights, the driver, 28-year-old Jessica Patterson, accelerated, trying to escape. The chase didn't last long, though. Soon after Patterson attempted to speed off, she crashed, the vehicle rolled over, and multiple explosions could be heard inside before it burst into flames. Patterson managed to escape the wreck, but was on fire, and was tackled to the ground by the deputy in an attempt to put out the flames. Before being put into an ambulance, Patterson reportedly admitted to police at the scene that she had several containers of gasoline in the back of the stolen car, which she had bought to hoard. News of the strange incident comes as South Carolina, as well as several other states in the Southeast, continue to experience gas shortages caused by the recent hack of the Colonial Pipeline, forcing it to temporarily shut down. The crisis caused a wave of panic buying and hoarding of gasoline amongst consumers, despite pleas from state and federal officials not to engage in these activities, as many people have not been storing the fuel they're buying safely. Patterson was taken to the hospital following the incident. However, the extent of her injuries have not been reported. Charges against her also have yet to be announced. A terrifying story of child abduction took a decidedly strange turn this week after it was discovered that the couple who had initially reported the crime lied about the kidnapping in order to get their stolen vehicle returned to them more quickly. According to reports, the incident began on Wednesday afternoon, when 40-year-old Stormy Wagner and 37-year-old James Wagner went to a Quick Trip convenience store with another couple who they had just met. At some point, the unnamed couple left the store, driving off in the Wagner's 1999 Ford F-250. Apparently believing that the authorities would not put sufficient resources towards finding the truck, the Wagners decided to motivate them, saying that an 18-month-old girl that was left in their care had also been taken along with their vehicle. Police began searching for the missing child and truck immediately, and didn't even have time to issue an Amber Alert before they managed to track down the stolen vehicle in a nearby neighborhood. The unnamed couple who had taken it were located in a house close by. However, there was no sign of the missing child. When police began to question all 4 people involved in the incident, they quickly realized that things didn't add up. That's when they discovered that the kidnapping part of the crime was totally fabricated. In a complete reversal of fortunes, police announced on Thursday that the Wagners had been arrested and would be charged with making a false report after wasting the department's resources. Meanwhile, the unnamed couple that stole their vehicle had not been charged, though that could still change based on the decision of the Maricopa County Attorney's Office.
This week, the New York Attorney General's office announced that they had arrested and charged a Long Island man after it was alleged that he had been fraudulently collecting disability benefits for years. According to reports, 50-year-old Anthony Ragusa first filed for disability benefits in 2013 after he claimed that he had fallen while working as an electrician and suffered injuries that made him unable to work. Ragusa claimed that these injuries were so severe that it was difficult to put on shoes and that he could not walk or even sit still for more than 15 to 30 minutes at a time. Between 2015 and 2020, he reiterated these claims and continued to receive disability payments. While Ragusa was apparently too injured to work, he had no problem continuing to own and operate his limousine company based in New Hyde Park. Then, in 2017, he began training to become a professional bodybuilder. Ragusa's egregious lies were finally exposed after authorities discovered numerous pictures of him on his wife's Instagram. In the photos, he could be seen hanging out with his wife at the gym, working out, and going to the beach, among other places. With an overwhelming amount of evidence in hand, authorities arrested Ragusa, and he now faces charges of grand larceny and offering a false instrument for filing.
This week, authorities in El Paso announced that a woman had been arrested after she was filmed brazenly climbing into the spider monkey enclosure at the El Paso Zoo and attempting to feed the animals hot Cheetos. The woman, who has since been identified as 26-year-old Luz Elizabeth Ray, reportedly got into the enclosure after making it past the fence, bushes, and moat that currently separate the monkeys in their exhibit from the zoo's guests. El Paso police announced that Ray had been arrested for criminal trespass on Thursday, a few days after the clip of her in the spider monkey enclosure went viral. Zoo officials said that they couldn't let the behavior go unpunished, pointing out that there were significant dangers involved in the stunt for both Ray and the animals. They also say that they may now have to increase the barrier sizes around the exhibit to prevent further trespassing attempts, something that will likely diminish the visibility of the exhibit for all guests. It was reported that Ray has also since been fired from the personal injury law firm where she worked. The company said in a statement that they did not condone her irresponsible and reckless behavior. Authorities in Allentown, Pennsylvania say that a woman is facing charges this week after she allegedly attempted to hire a hitman to kill her husband. According to reports, 44-year-old Claudia Carrion was arrested on Thursday after meeting with an undercover police detective who she believed would complete the job. Carrion was apparently so desperate to get rid of her husband that she even went so far as to work out a payment plan with her would-be hitman, saying that she could not pay the agreed-upon $4,000 fee up front, but that she would instead pay a $100 deposit and would pay the rest of the money in equal weekly installments. After handing over the cash deposit, she was taken into custody. Following her arrest, Carrion told investigators that she wanted her husband dead because he had abused her and cheated on her with several women. However, police say they were never contacted about the alleged abuse prior to the incident, and her son also said he never witnessed anything that could corroborate her claims. Carrion also reportedly told investigators that this was not the first time she had tried to have her husband killed. She said that the previous time did not work out. Carrion has now been charged with criminal solicitation to commit homicide and remains in custody while she awaits a preliminary hearing on July 8th.
A former Minnesota state trooper pled guilty to non-consensual dissemination of private sexual image this week after he admitted to sending himself nude pictures from a woman's phone while responding to the scene of a crash last year. According to Hennepin County District Court records, the incident took place on March 25, 2020, when 37-year-old Albert Kuhn responded to a report of a single-vehicle collision on Interstate 94. While placing the 25-year-old female driver under arrest for suspicion of drunk driving, at some point he also accessed her cell phone and used it to text nude photos to his own device. After the woman was treated and released, her boyfriend noticed that the images had been sent while using a laptop that was linked to the phone. He called the number that the nude photos had been sent to and discovered that it belonged to Kuhn. The incident was reported to police, and the images were found on his phone when investigators seized it. Kuhn was placed on administrative leave in May and fired in October. Apparently, this was not the first time Kuhn got into trouble during his time with the police force. In 2018, he and two others were placed on administrative leave after pursuing a speeder off of the interstate and into a North Minneapolis neighborhood. During the chase, which reportedly reached speeds of up to 80 miles per hour, 3 children under 5 were seriously injured when they were struck by one of the vehicles involved.
This week, authorities in McLennan County, Texas announced that they had recently arrested a drunk driver who was so intoxicated that he attempted to hand his beer to an officer during a traffic stop. The incident reportedly took place earlier this month, when 2 game wardens patrolling an area near Lake Waco attempted to pass a vehicle that was pulled off on the side of the road. As they got closer, however, they were cut off by a pickup truck traveling on the wrong side of the road. The driver steered back to the correct lane and attempted to wave the wardens past, but by this time, the 2 officers had allegedly become suspicious about the man's erratic driving and pulled him over. They quickly discovered that the man was in no state to be on the road. The man was so intoxicated that he wasn't able to figure out how to turn down the volume of his radio, and when asked what he was doing, could barely respond. Instead of answering their questions, he picked up a beer inside the vehicle and handed it to one of the officers. Needless to say, he subsequently failed the field sobriety test and was taken to the McLennan County Jail. At the time of this recording, authorities have declined to release the man's name. This week, authorities in the city of Ankeny, Iowa, announced that they had arrested a man for threatening to bomb a local McDonald's. a threat that he allegedly made because the restaurant messed up his order. According to reports, 42-year-old Robert Gallwitzer Jr. became irate on the afternoon of June 26th after he visited the restaurant and discovered that they had forgotten to include a dipping sauce for his chicken McNuggets. Instead of returning to the fast food franchise to complain, or simply moving on with his life, Gallwitzer instead called the McDonald's and allegedly threatened to blow up the location, also saying that he was going to punch an employee. When the incident was reported, police called Gallwitzer back on the same number he had used to call the McDonald's. He apparently admitted to them over the phone what he had done, repeating his confession in a later interview. Gallwitzer has since been charged with false report of an explosive or incendiary device and was released on bond on Sunday. Are there any other stories from this year that you think should have made our list? Let us know in the comments section below. As always, if you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest releases. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next week when we're back to our usual schedule.